Okay. This is a bit of a special entry. Just I'm having a really rough time with things. Come to the realization, really, that sorry, this lens is not straight. Anyway, I'm coming to the realization that I just can't relate to anyone, or no one can relate to me. There's a lot going through my head. But basically, I think this diary would be best considered for posterity's sake, rather than for communication, because I just can't communicate with you. You're incapable of understanding my position. You're incapable of understanding my perspective. You're incapable of understanding my situation, my feelings, anything. And the problem is that you're so ingrained in capitalism that you can't see outside of it. And the fact is that I've been outside of capitalism all of my life. I've been outside of this society all of my life. I've basically lived on the fringes of it, mostly out of fear for how I was treated, and because I was never socialized as a kid. So I never thought like you, I never acted like you, I never did what you do, I never gained the perspective that you have. And it may seem that I'm angry and upset at times and impatient. And how do you think a parent would feel if his children wouldn't listen and wouldn't obey and were dangerous to him? And that's basically the relationship, the situation. I'm basically like a father figure to pretty damn near all of humanity, especially all of America, because you're also immature. Actually, I was gonna do this. I'm gonna read what I've asked you to read, because none of you are fucking self-motivated enough to do this yourself. So I'm gonna read something and put it in terms you can understand, I hope. But come on. You need to understand what moral development is. It's nothing to do with what you think of as morals, ethics. Those are rules that you live by. Moral development is simply the ability to expand your thinking so that you're considering more and more people and over a longer period of time. A full understanding of the consequences of your action means understanding the immediate consequences, the consequences of those immediate consequences, the consequences of those secondary consequences, and so on until it comes all the way back to you. Now, in the future, forever, whatever. And I'm going to read something. This is a description of pre-conventional moral reasoning from the Wikipedia page, Lawrence Kohlberg's Stages of Moral Development. Pre-conventional. The pre-conventional level of moral reasoning is especially common in children, although adults can also exhibit this level of reasoning. And do. Reasoners, that is people who reason, reasoning is thinking. Reasoners at this level judge the morality of an action by its direct consequences. They don't think to the future, they don't think about other people, they only think about their immediate consequences. The pre-conventional level consists of the first and second stages of moral development and is solely concerned with the self in an egocentric manner. A person with pre-conventional morality has not yet or has not adopted or internalized society's conventions regarding what is right and wrong, but instead focuses largely on external consequences that certain actions may bring. And your law enforcement reinforces this for you. That's why I've characterized law enforcement as status quo enforcement. Law enforcement, no law enforcement body out there considers the law. None. They only consider immediate consequences. They only consider the status quo of what they believe their region or society or culture or whatever, their city or whatever should be like. And they will act to that regard. That was the overall description of pre-conventional. And stage one, obedience and punishment driven. This is most conservative types in this country, and many liberals, and many who think they're liberals but are actually not. Individuals focus on the direct consequences of their actions on themselves. For example, an action is perceived as morally wrong because the perpetrator is punished. The last time I did, I got spanked, so I'll not do it again. Last time I did that, I got arrested, so I want to do it again. Last time I did that, I got in trouble with my mom, so I won't do it again. Last time I did that, I got in trouble with politicians, so I won't do it again, etc., etc. That's where most people are in this country. The worse the punishment is for the act is, the more bad the act is perceived to be. This can give rise to an inference that even innocent victims are guilty in proportion to their suffering. Let me rephrase that. Let me restate that. This can give rise to an inference that even innocent victims are guilty in proportion to their suffering. How many of you out there think that? That's the lowest level of moral development. There is worse, which is psychopathy, but that's another story altogether. This can give rise to an inference that even innocent victims are guilty in proportion to their suffering. It is egocentric, based on the self, you, lacking recognition that others' points of view are different from one's own. There is deference to superior power or prestige. Let me restate that. There is deference to pundits and others perceived as authoritative because they appear on television. That is how simple the mind of most Americans is. You think someone is on TV, has authority because they are on TV. It takes a lot to get on TV. You can't get on TV. They have gotten on TV. Therefore, they are something special. You think television is an authority figure in this country. You therefore think that anyone on television is an authority figure. Sorry, I'm telling you what you think. I'm telling you because I'm reading a description of a psychologically developed tool to tell what's going on. Well, stage 2, self-interest driven. That's where most of your liberals lie in this country. Espouses what's in it for me position, in which right behavior is defined by whatever is in the individual's best interest. Stage 2 reasoning shows a limited interest in the needs of others, but only to a point where it might further the individual's own needs, own interests. Let me state that again. Stage 2 reasoning, people who are in stage 2 moral development, shows limited interest. That means you show some interest in, for example, my situation, but only to a point where it might further the individual's own interests. In other words, you're interested in my situation only if it would interest your position, only if it would benefit you. As a result, concern for others is not based on loyalty or intrinsic respect, but rather a you scratch my back and I'll scratch yours mentality. Sound familiar? Think deep inside. It's in your head, not mine. The lack of societal perspective in the pre-conventional level is quite different from the social contract, stage 5, as all actions have the purpose of serving the individual's own needs or interest. For the stage 2 theorist, the world perspective is seen as often seen as morally relative. Now I'm going to skip to post-conventional, where we should be. The post-conventional level, also known as the principled level, is marked by a growing realization that individuals are separate entities from society, and that the individual's own perspective may take precedent over society's view. This, by the way, is where I am. Individuals may disobey rules inconsistent with their own principles, especially when they're illogical, irrational, and stupid, like America's. Post-conventional morals live by their own ethical principles, principles that typically include such basic human rights as life, liberty, and justice. People who exhibit post-conventional morality view rules as useful but changeable mechanism. Ideally, rules can maintain the general social order and protect human rights. Rules are not absolute dictates that must be obeyed without question. They are not. Trust me. They are to allow a society to function, not to afford punishment. Fucking morons. Because rights are not... Because post-conventional individuals elevate their own moral evaluation of a situation over social conventions, their behavior, especially at stage 6, can be confused with those at pre-conventional levels. No, I'm not a child like you. I don't disobey rules because I want to. I disobey rules because they're illogical, irrational, and unsafe, and not good for society. Let me read real quick the stage 6. I'm actually a little bit higher probably, but it's close enough. In stage 6, also called universal ethical principles-driven reasoning, Moral reasoning is based on abstract reasoning, using universal ethical principles. Laws are only valid insofar as they are grounded in justice, and a commitment to justice carries with it an obligation to disobey unjust laws. Legal rights are unnecessary, as social contracts are not essential for a deontic moral action. I don't know what deontic means. Deontic. Decisions are not reached hypothetically in a conditional way, but rather categorically in an absolute way, as in the philosophy of Immanuel Kant, whoever that is. This involves an individual imagining what they would do in another's shoes if they believe what that other person imagines to be true. Whoa! This involves an individual, me, imagining what they would do in another's shoes, yours, if they believed what the other person imagines to be true. Been there, done that. Been with capitalism for a while, and I know what your perspective is like, but you don't know mine. The resulting consensus is the action taken. In this way, action is never a means, but always an end to itself. The individual acts because it is right, not because it is instrumental, expected, legal, or previously agreed upon. Let me restate that. The individual acts because it is right, and not because it is instrumental, expected, legal, or previously agreed upon. Although, well, anyway, we don't need to worry about that. And there are further stages, and yeah, that's when you start taking the perspective outside of society itself, outside of the species, outside of humanity, and start looking at things like the general health of the planet. So you have to be completely, fully morally developed to see how important the planet is. But none of you do. Some of you think you do, but you don't actually know how important the planet is, otherwise you wouldn't be driving a car. And why do you think I'm selling all of my vehicles and buying a sailboat? Sailboat. Because I'm not going to contribute to global warming anymore. Anyway, the bottom line is I can't relate to anyone. I am completely on my own. I can't talk to anybody without offending them deeply. And that's another thing I need to talk about, is that I offend people a lot. Well, you know what? It's your fault, to be quite blunt and honest. I can take your position. I can take your perspective. You just read. I can't. I do. It's a normal habit. It's what I do. If I don't, it's because there's something wrong, or because I'm brain damaged and suffering a forgetfulness or whatever. It's not because I don't try. It's not because I don't want to. It's because if it does happen, it's brain damage. But I do try, and I do take people's perspectives as much as I can, as much as I'm capable. But you can't take mine. You can't possibly see from my perspective, because for one, it took me, God, how many years? My entire life, I guess, to figure things out. Number two, I've never been in the system, so I mean, but you've been in the system all your life, so you're incapable of seeing from outside of the system. There are very few people intelligent enough, no offense, but there are very few people intelligent enough to consider what I consider, to consider my perspective. I mean, how do you take the perspective of a genius if you're not a genius, I mean, and there's part of me in there that's a genius. And that's the trouble I have, is I can't take my own perspective because the genius is hidden behind brain damage. So, but bottom line is I'm on my own. I can't talk to anybody. I can't relate to anybody. I can't do anything to relieve stress. I can't vent, because all it does is offends you. Every one of you. And I just can't do that anymore. So I don't think I'm going to use these diary entries as rants anymore or anything to vent, because you just misunderstand me. You just assume I don't give a shit about you, or you assume I hate you or whatever. I don't hate any of you. How do you think a parent feels when his children are dying and suffering because they won't listen to you? How would you feel? That's how I feel. Yes, I get angry. That's impatience. You're killing yourselves, and you won't listen to me as I try to tell you how and why you're killing yourselves, and that you are. And you just refuse to listen, and you just continue to kill yourselves, and me along with you. Why do you think I get so impatient? Why do you think I get so upset and so frustrated? Why do you think I need to vent? And you won't listen to me. No one. You're not capable. It's not that you don't want to. There's some of you out there that want to. It's just that you're not capable. And I can't tell you how to become capable, because it'll just offend you. Well, actually, you know what? Too fucking bad. Be offended. Take your fucking brain out. Start fucking using it. Read the fucking thing about moral development. Start thinking about capitalism. Think about the guiding hand. Think about the argument that a member of society benefited himself will not benefit society, but anything that benefits society will benefit the individual because of the hierarchy argument. A part of a hierarchy gets benefit. No part that can't benefit the entire hierarchy. How can it? Unless that person's at the top of the hierarchy and it necessitates going through. This whole crap of the rich making everything better for the poor is the same thing, you know, trickle-down economics. It's the same bullshit argument. Trickle-down economics doesn't work, just as the guiding hand principle from Wealth of Nations doesn't work. It doesn't work. Capitalism is detrimental to society. Capitalism is everything that's wrong. Period. Capitalism is not the free market. Capitalism is solely the notion that we give the resources of our society to the rich, to the greedy, to control. I mean, when you think of it that way, it sounds like it's a stupid idea, doesn't it? But what you understand is that that's all capitalism is. Just the idea of giving the resources to the most greedy. That's all it is. And I'm sorry if I can't explain it to you, but you need to start learning on your own too. So I think I'm going to take a different tact with these video diary entries and just tell you like it is. Act like a parent, like I should. Because not a single one of you out there are capable of helping me. Not a single one of you out there are... Well, most of you aren't willing to help me. And I really shouldn't be asking any of you for any kind of help. So I'm not. I'm on my own. I know that now. I'll figure this all out myself. I'll get all the answers sorted out. And if I survive and communicate them to you, great. If I don't and I die, what the fuck does it bother me? Jesus, I can't even talk that way. I can't even pretend to not care. I'm so scared of dying with the answers that I have. You don't understand that. You just laugh, or you just joke around, or you just think I'm crazy, or whatever. God. Don't know how to deal with you. I really don't like dealing with you. I really don't. You scare me. You're dangerous to me. Wish I could help you more directly. I'm trying, but most of you want me to just make everything better for you, and I can't. You have to make it better for yourself. I'm trying to tell you what's wrong, and it's wrong with you, so that you can fix it, because you have to fix it within yourself. Turn off your television, go to the library, start reading books, and not bullshit fiction either. If you're going to read fiction, read the likes of D.H. Lawrence and things like that. Don't read Stephen King or bullshit like that. It's not the purpose of stories. Just use your brain. Think, please. Good luck. I'll be fine. I don't know about you guys.